seeing the journey that Lucas has with Max, like I think I've gotten to a point now when it comes to the romances in this show. Lucas and Max, I think have become my favorite couple in this show. Um, I think I've started to feel that way since season 3, especially because they gave Max a bigger role in season 4, and now just seeing that payoff with Lucas and Max, I thought was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. Um, just the whole thing of Max trying to get back into the real world, getting out of the psychic the psychic coma that she was in, and Lucas trying to bring her back with the music and talking to her while she's in the coma in the hospital and stuff like that. Like, and then it's such a beautiful moment when you actually see Max come back to the real world and embracing Lucas and all of that. I love that stuff. Like I'm starting to like that more than Mike and Eleven. Like Mike and Eleven had their moments in the show, but it was not as much as um, the previous seasons, which I was a bit let down with. I wish that they did a little bit more. They do some stuff, but I don't think it had as much attention as the previous seasons because I did ship them as well. Um, Another thing I was disappointed with Dustin and Susie. Like Susie's not in this season at all, and I was very let down with that. Like, because I really liked them as a couple, and when they established it in season 3, and they brought her back in season 4, but she's nowhere to be found in season 5. So I was very disappointed with that. You couldn't give a payoff with that either. Like she couldn't even play a part in the plot. I don't know what happened there. Why did they not bring Susie back? Um, Hopper is a lot better than he was in season 3, and they did improve him in season 4 as well. But you had the whole Russian stuff going on, which I wasn't really a big fan of. There's no Russian stuff in this movie, which I'm happy about. But Hopper's just pretty much just about the mission in this season, like you know, so not a lot of time for the his typical the humor that they were trying to instill in season 3, and some of the cop stuff that he does in the sheriff stuff that he does in the previous seasons. Like he's all about he's pretty much just he's pretty much just like a soldier in this, which I thought was pretty cool, and pretty much making sure that 11 is ready to stop Vecna and stuff like that. And obviously you have that that father daughter dynamic that was really good in all the seasons, and I think they did a really good job um making a payoff with that as well. Like I love the relationship that Hopper has with Eleven. Hopper pretty much filling that void that he had with his daughter dying from cancer, and Eleven's pretty much filling that void for him, and he's having a hard time letting her go. So I thought all that was pretty beautiful as well. Joyce, not wanting to let Will go because of all the trauma that Will's gone through with facing Vecna and the Upside Down, and not feeling like she's the best parent because she's not making the best decisions to make sure that Will is safe, but at the same time trying to come to the realization that she has to let Will go because Will's maturing, and Will has gotten wiser over the years, and like Joyce has to learn to you know let her kids be free, and stuff like that. So I love seeing that as well. Um, you know, Nancy and Jonathan and Steve, we still had that love triangle thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of, to be honest. But the way they executed here, it could be worse. Because I was under the impression that Jonathan and Nancy were going to get together, officially, but I guess now they're telling us that they're not really compatible that much together, which come to think about it, like yeah, I could understand. Starting off, like they don't seem like they're the most compatible even when they first started getting together. Like obviously they have some decent chemistry, but seeing them as a couple, like I don't know, they didn't really show that they had a lot of chemistry as a couple post season two. Yeah, post season two. Yeah, like so I guess I was okay with it, and you could obviously tell Steve still has some feelings for Nancy, and I don't know. I mean, I guess if they did end up getting back together, would I hate it? No. But do I think it's necessary? No to that as well. But I guess she ends up being on her own. She doesn't want to be in a relationship. She wants to be more independent, which I guess is okay. She's pretty much turning into an action star in this season, so that's kind of cool. You see her shooting guns and everything, so that's pretty sweet. And then Robin, I love Robin. I think she's great. And then there's the whole thing with her girlfriend where, you know, she's trying to keep everything a secret from her to keep her safe, but then she ends up finding out that she's, you know, ditching her for to fight the upside down, and she doesn't believe her obviously. And there's this funny joke of like she looks like she's on drugs, or when she's talking about Robin's talking to the upside down to her, she's acting like she's on drugs or whatever. So there was a running joke with that, which I thought was kind of funny. Um, and then who I did not expect for 8 to come back. You know, the girl from season 2 that had also has abilities, you know, that not a lot of people cared about. They actually bring her back, and I'm actually kind of glad they brought her back. Um, you know, because I know people didn't really care for her episode in season 2, but she does play a critical factor when it comes to Eleven's development. You know, so it's not something that we could just completely get rid of. You know, and I liked how she played a factor in this season. Like it made sense, you know. And I'm glad that they didn't do the whole thing of like them trying to her trying to sabotage the mission. Like, you know, she actually still tried to help. Now she had her personal motivations, you know, and she was trying to convince Eleven to do certain things on the way of stopping the Upside Down, to completely stop them experimenting on kids and stuff like that. In order to do that, they have to sacrifice themselves. So that was that whole plot line. But you know, I liked how they utilized her in the season. I didn't mind them bringing her back. Holly, Mike's little sister, I did not expect for them to give her that big of a role in this season, but she ended up being really good. I think they changed the actress from the first couple seasons. This new actress, I think she's really good. She can act she could act her butt off, man. She ended up being one of the best characters in the season, which I did not expect. But she's pretty much the whole anchor of Vecna, um, taking control of these kids and using them to, I guess, to whatever, create this like hive mind to take over the real world and stuff like that. Like that was some really creepy stuff. I very creepy stuff. Like I also appreciate, you know, same thing with season 4 is that this season is still very dark and adult. I like that this show is growing up with people that have watched over the years, and like, you know, it's gotten a lot more mature since the first season, so that's still apparent in this. So I really liked all that stuff. The new kid, what's his name? Dustin, the fat kid. I didn't care for him. I didn't like him. They tried to make him important in the season, but like he just really came off annoying. Um, but yeah, I guess he didn't take over too much to where he ruined the season for me. But like, yeah, that was one character I didn't care for. And then another character I didn't care for, which I'm surprised to even say this because I love this actress, Linda Hamilton. They actually got Linda Hamilton in Stranger Things, and I didn't really care for her character. She's like the main, I guess, head of the whatever, the soldiers in this season. You know, she's the main lieutenant, whatever. Um, I think trying to take over the role that Eleven's Papa was doing in the previous seasons, and I don't know, she just didn't do much for me. Like I felt like anybody could have been in this role. Like they didn't let Linda Hamilton do her thing. You know, this is Sarah Connor from Terminator, and it's like she just feels very forgettable. So I was kind of disappointed with that too. Um, Probably one of my biggest gripes with this season is that the pacing. There's still some pacing issues with this season. Like when it comes to like the character moments and the monologues and the just the conversations that people are having in this show, I feel like they're dragging it out way too long. Like there's some moments where characters are talking and they're in this very urgent, situation, and they're just they have to get the final word in, a final conversation in before they have to do something very important. And I would just literally be screaming at the screen being like, "You guys need to go now. Stop talking and go do this thing. Go into the portal. Why are you wasting time?" That there's moments like that that happen a lot in this season, and I'm just like, dude, please just get on with the thing, get on with it. Also, when it comes to the Vecna stuff, when it comes to the whole there, I feel like this show is getting way too big as far as them trying to be like the super big blockbuster and end of the world stakes. It makes the show feel very bloated, in my opinion. You have this whole thing of like not only do they have to stop the upside down and stop Vecna and like save the kids from the psychological hold that Vecna has on them, and the soldiers are getting in the way, and the monsters, and they literally fight a kaiju in this season, like similar to what they did in season three, but like this kaiju's even bigger than it was in season three, and the whole telepathic battles and the telekinetic battles that they have, and the mind battles that Will has with Vecna, and all of this, and like giant vortex like energy beam balls, whatever, like exploding and stuff like that. Like they're trying to turn this into a superhero, practically a superhero show, and it's like, am I digging the chaos? Am I digging how big the stakes are? Am I digging all the characters fighting together and all that stuff? Yes, all that is cool, but it just feels too bloated to me. It just feels a little too over the top. Like I'm invested in what's going on because of the characters and like the urgency of the situation, but it doesn't feel like Stranger Things as as a project, as its entity. It doesn't feel like it's supposed to be as big as this. It just feels so bloated and humongous for no reason. Like I do miss the more subdued stuff that we got from the first two seasons, really. That's what made it unique. It didn't have to be like this over the top big action spectacle thing. Like it didn't need to be that. And I feel like ever since season 3, that's what they were leaning to more towards, you know. Like cool. The effects in the show is cool. The practical effects really awesome. The designs of the monsters and Vecna, that's really cool. But I just don't feel like Stranger Things needs to be this big action extravaganza. It doesn't really need to be that.